Hello, everybody. Hi to everybody in the chat. So great to see you here. Welcome. I'm Natalie. This is Scientology Life After a Cult, where we recap the Scientology news that has the internet buzzing. We also talk about my 35 years in Scientology, growing up in Scientology, and most importantly, leaving with 3 generations of my family. Welcome if this is your first time here. I hope you hit that subscribe button. Everybody else, please make sure you check your subscribe button. Check your subscribe button upon entering and then hit that like button as well. Really appreciate it. Thank you to my mods this morning. I know Nancy's here. I'm not sure if Dip is here. My Tony is he's dropping a kid off at school, so he won't be here this morning. But good to see the rest of you. Thank you so much for being here. Man, oh man. So we are going to talk about a lot of things as per usual. We're going to talk about how I have a few clips where Scientology secrets are just coming out like crazy, people. I mean, there are more and more creators across YouTube and other social media platforms picking it up and going, wait, what is this? Tell me more about it. How can I find out? And guess what? Boom, boom, boom. Straight up and vertical. Scientology secrets are just leaking and coming out everywhere, and it's absolutely fabulous because that's what needs to happen. We are also going to talk about Kelli Copter, the video that she did, and a member of the Aftermath Foundation board went ahead and commented about it. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that towards the end, so stay tuned for that. All right, let's jump over to our starting point here. And our starting point, I got to share some channel news here. Some channel news. Look, we got memberships now. We have memberships here at the channel, and I would appreciate your support. We have multiple levels, as you can see. You could be a naughty never-in, a squirrel, not today, Thetan, or a full-blown suppressive person. And what I'm going to be doing with the members, there is going to be members-only content that's going to be shared. A lot more of a peek behind the scenes on some things as well. And let's be honest, we're just going to figure it out as we go along. So would love it if you would do that. I'm so excited because I got multiple messages saying you should do this, and I didn't even know what it was. As per usual, I had to go watch a YouTube video on how to do it. And thanks to all of your messages as well and support, we have updated the merch as well. I'm going to get myself one of these. I love this. I have this in hoodies and t-shirts, easily distracted by SPTV. If you go to my channel, there is a link up above that takes you right to the merch store. We have lots of fun merch there. I love having fun with that because nothing makes me happier than making fun of Scientology. Things we were never able to do when we were in Scientology. And I am massively distracted by SPTV. So I'm just hoping that you guys are too and can have some fun with that. Now, I wanted to, Christina Perez, you were actually the first member. Woo! Hip, hip, hooray. Hip, hip, hooray. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Swedish Lena, you are the second member. How great is this? Hip, hip, hooray. Hip, hip, hooray. Thank you so much. As you go along, there's like these fun member badges. You guys probably know how this works better than I do. I thought it was really cool. Oh, sweating. I just turned up the menopause fan, so we should be okay. Canine Peace of Mind, thank you. You are the third member. How fun is this? We will pull you guys up. Hip, hip, hooray. Got to give you the hip, hip, hoorays. All right, we're going to get to it. Kimberly Sweet, our fourth member. Thank you so much. Hip, hip, hooray. Hip, hip, hooray. Everybody gets a hip, hip, hooray. Everybody gets one. I'm going to continue to acknowledge our new members. I just want to jump into a couple things as we go along. Then I'm going to keep acknowledging that. Okay, so you remember, I think it was yesterday, we were talking a little bit about the Nation of Islam. And I was wondering about a few things. And I knew in my head, I'm like, I know somebody did a video about that, had more information about it. And you know what? I should have known. Aaron at Growing Up in Scientology did a video about it. And we're going to take a little peek at that because there's two actually videos we're going to look at of Aaron's about this because it really answers the question about the connection and a possible break in that connection that we're going to get to as well. So take a look at this. This is Growing Up in Scientology. This was, I want to say it was sometime last year. It probably says right in there when it was.
Miscavige, of course, knows what a divisive and race baiting and race hating person Louis Farrakhan is. And yet, Miscavige pursues this partnership. I truly don't know what to make of this. And I haven't known what to make of it over time. You know, previously, when I've given any thought or comment to this whatsoever, it's just been, look, Miscavige is so hard up for members. He's just happy to have a source of members, the Nation of Islam, and he doesn't particularly care. I mean, I meant what I said earlier. Scientologists don't really give a damn about any other belief system, religious organization, whatever. They pretend to be very tolerant and, you know, promoting interfaith initiatives, because technically speaking, it's not that Scientology hates these other groups. They just see all these other groups and belief systems as false.
Yep, that is true. That is very true. So now, a few months ago, I want to say maybe it was 4 months ago, he did a follow-up to that. And there's a member, an ex-Scientologist, an ex-Nation of Islam member who shed some light on that relationship. And I mean, he really sees it for what it is and was calling it out. So let's take a look at that.
I produced the audio of Jim Jones endorsing Minister Farrakhan to be the Nation of Islam leader.
He's making some great connections too between Jim Jones and Scientology. I found this absolutely fascinating.
That's not to be underestimated. Of why would Jim Jones be endorsing him to do this, and at the same time, this cult of Scientology is trying to get a foothold into our Black community. A major technique of what Scientology uses is called love bombing. Again, it's called love bombing.
And that love bombing stops once they solidly have you as a Scientologist.
They love bomb you by embracing you, by saying, look, brother and sister, we're a member of your neighborhood. We have this top of the line, state of the art facility. And you know what? You can use our facility for free. For free? For free. Only.
All right. Where have we seen that before, right? If you've been following the channel here, we've talked a few times already about how Scientology, part of how they infiltrate other groups is to offer up their empty buildings. Because remember, they got all this real estate. They have these big, beautiful, empty buildings that they get the members, the parishioners of Scientology, to fork over money, to hand over, max out their credit cards, refinance their homes, give up their kids' college funds. I am not exaggerating, okay? When you think, whatever you think the worst thing is that they can do financially to somebody, just up that bar a bit. And that is pretty much the norm. These empty buildings sit there. So part of what Scientology does is they offer them up to other organizations like the Nation of Islam. They do a lot in Washington, D.C., also in Chicago, but they do this in Los Angeles too. We've seen it with, there's a group in Los Angeles that does food services, food support, like a food shelf and other services. We see it over and over and over again. Even in Clearwater, there's a couple organizations that the Citizens Commission for Human Rights, which is a Scientology front group, got their claws into, and they're using the ballroom at the Fort Harrison. It is a ploy, a way that they get people to do things in Scientology buildings, and then Scientology tries to associate themselves, position themselves with those organizations. Often I'll bring up a press release that Scientology sent out and we dig into it, and what do we see? That's exactly that happened. They position themselves as being the ones that did some good thing in the community, and you find out the truth is they're the event venue. They're just the event venue. You're just the event venue, Scientology. We know this. These big, beautiful buildings, maybe you should like rent them out for all kinds of things, because we know there aren't people there. We know that there aren't many Scientologists there, and the ones you have left, they are just all future ex-Scientologists. and future subscribers to this channel. Oh, which, by the way, thank you guys. I wanted to say thank you so much. I just saw, I'm still learning what all the analytics and stuff mean here on YouTube, but we hit 1 million views. We had a million views on this channel. So thank you so much to all of you. And we just passed the 15,000 mark on our subscribers. And as you know, here at the channel, we are playing the birthday game because L. Ron Hubbard's birthday is coming up on March 13th, which also happens to be Danny Masterson's birthday. And our gift to Scientology, to L. Ron Hubbard, and to David Miscavige is to grow this channel to 20,000 subscribers and beyond, of course. We're just doing this for L. Ron Hubbard's birthday because I can be incredibly petty and I know how much Scientology hates this. So yeah, we're doing it. Okay, back to what we're doing. Got to put petty aside right now. I got to put the petty back in the pocket. Back in the pocket. Okay, there was this hilarious crank call. I've shared one of these before. This was interesting though, because you'll hear one of the people starts talking about what his post is, which is your job in Scientology. And I was surprised by what he said. So let's take a little look and a listen here.
Making to Scientology centers call each other, part 48.
Scientology of San Diego, may I help you?
Scientology San Francisco.
Hello there. This is Dave Meyer
Hi.
in San Diego.
Hi, Dave.
This looks like the San Francisco number. I used to dial it every day.
Can I help you?
No, you called me.
No, the number came in through here, so something's kind of funky.
Okay.
I just picked it up because the call came in.
It was
here.
ringing.
Yeah,
Oh, very odd.
One of
Okay,
those
great. Well,
weirdo ones. I don't know
okay,
what
well,
they're
great.
doing on the
Nice to
phone
chat
to
with
make that happen.
What's your
my
name?
name's Debbie Hurtado. Debbie
Debbie,
Hurtado.
Debbie, I don't think we've met, but I went clear in San Francisco back in the 80s. I used to live in Foster City.
Oh, nice. And what is your post in San Diego?
Well, I wash windows, I wash the floors, I wipe the front, and I also act ED.
Oh, your estate's in acting ED?
Well, I do that stuff in addition to being acting ED.
You're acting ED
our
and you
team
do the cleaning too.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's part of the hat, right?
Well done. It's in Division 7. I understand.
So what's so interesting to me about that is he's talking about how, you know, his what was he, the executive director or deputy executive director? I forget which one he said, but he's manning reception, doing the cleaning. Nothing wrong with any of that, except for the fact that if Scientology has millions of members and all of these ideal organizations, and they're growing and expanding and winning, because they said they're winning when the squirrels and the suppressives are out yelling, that means they're winning. Then how come they don't have more staff? Why is the person who's supposed to be running the organization manning the front desk? That's because all of that is false. They don't have the staff. They don't have the people. And as Pearlsnappy would say, in Austin, they don't even have the meat. They're supposed to bring the meat to the potlucks and to the events, and apparently they don't. But interesting nonetheless. So crank call, but with a little bit of extra info in there that I was like, yep, this pretty much backs up what we already know to be true. Good morning again, everybody. I saw a comment. If Kelly's here, Kelli Copter, if you're here, check your email. We're going to go over some things towards the end, and I would love it if you do a pop-in. So I just emailed you a link, Kelly, if you're available. All right. So now we're going to jump over to, you guys know MARILYN, Mama Bear. Oh, I just love this woman. She did an interview with Dylan Gill, BLOWDRILL, and it was so insightful. A lot of times I like to include each time I come on reasons why we do this as well, right? The voices, the people who had these experiences and have spoken out about it. And MARILYN's done an amazing job as someone who's been total mama bear in supporting this community. And I grabbed a section of this because I thought, oh, it just hit me in the heart. But it's so true. And it's something that's kind of a theme today that we're going to be talking about. So take a little look and a listen here.
Before the Sea Org.
And by the way, there are links down below to everybody's channel so you can see the full videos, which I really recommend.
After the Sea Org, during the Sea Org where I knew I could identify by what I felt, what I needed, but that wasn't available. You know, you weren't allowed to have human emotions and reactions in the Sea Org. You weren't allowed, you know, you just weren't. And so as even from a child learning the TRs, you weren't allowed to blink when you were doing TRs. You weren't allowed to communicate through a via. That's a via. Like I can't use, you have to just be this stoic figure there comfortably confronting whatever's happening to you. So later in life, when you have these huge traumatic events happen, you go to this comfortable confronting place where you're just able to experience anything, but it's not humanly conducive to how we are.
That is such a thing in Scientology, and I'm sure that you've seen this. You've heard many people in the SPTV community and beyond talk about this. The human emotion and reaction in Scientology is called HENR, human emotion and reaction. It's something that's considered to be what you're not supposed to do. And they train you from childhood doing these training routines so that you don't have buttons or reactions on things that you should normally and naturally have. And then when abuses start to occur, a variety of abuses, emotional, physical, SA, what happens? You don't respond like a normal person would. Those instincts are drilled out of you. And this is something, it really, what Blow Drill's saying really hit home to me because I've experienced this as well. I can remember a time in a past relationship, not my Tony, but with someone else where he became very angry with me and just started screaming. And I just put my TRs in and was just there comfortably. It wasn't completely comfortable though. But just being there and confronting and not saying anything and just going right into robot mode, which made him more angry because he didn't understand why I wasn't reacting to this. It's the default. It does become the default. He's so right about that. I love that he shared that. PTS for Life, we shared a clip of a video where Jeff from PTS for Life went into the Seattle organization and did this whole video. Well, he did a recap and what he's walking people through it and giving more information about it with his wife. And he has another guest on there as well. And I grabbed a snippet of this because it's kind of on the longs of what Dylan was talking about too, what Blow Drill was talking about. And this is in Seattle. So he's referring to where he went in there undercover, did a whole video about it. And the person there was attempting to recruit him into Scientology by finding his ruin. It's a drill that's taught in Scientology with people so that what you do is you find out what's ruining their life and you show them how Scientology can handle that. And they're talking about how this guy was doing with that. Take a look.
I just want to make a comment on this because as I'm listening to this, I'm remembering being there, and this guy he's pretending to care, right? But there's no like, oh my God, that's terrible, or like there's no real emotion connected with it, right? And I'm just really noticing that when I'm listening to him, he's just acknowledging me. Yeah. Right? Which is all you're supposed to do in auditing. There's no emotion, right?
He's doing the drill. He's just doing the drill without any emotion, or he's not being real. And I mean, even when I was learning how to do it and drilling it, it's like that was one of the biggest things. You have to make it real to the person, otherwise you're just a big phony.
Yeah, very flat affect.
Very flat affect, yeah.
But also, so for context, trained, like you're supposed to turn it on for the descend drill, but you're supposed to stay where you're supposed to be on the tone scale at other times in your life.
I just want to make a comment on this because as I'm listening to this.
So in Scientology auditing, part of the training is to not react. You're basically, as the auditor, the person who is there listening, writing down everything that happens. But here's what ends up happening when you train and indoctrinate to people to be this way. You don't respond appropriately when somebody tells you that they just lost their father, that something tragic just happened, that their child has cancer. You become very much like, oh, okay. Dianetics can help you with that. I mean, it's so ridiculous, and that is something that I know the guy who I'm 99% sure I know who that is, who was trying to recruit Jeff when he was in there in Seattle, and he has been working with on the money side, a registrar in Seattle for decades for new people or getting Scientologists to buy their next services and all of that. And you'll see this lack of emotion and how it ends up actually backfiring in Scientology in real life, because there's not an appropriate reaction to almost anything. It's this default. And a lot of times I've seen this with many people in the ex-Scientology community, myself included. You default to that. And I've worked hard to, when I'm in situations, to make sure that I respond appropriately. I should say something like, hey, I'm really sorry that that happened to you. And really, it's okay to feel those emotions and not go to the default. And that's exactly what BLOWDRILL was talking about in the other video. And you see that often when you meet Scientology Sea Org members or staff members in like Austin, Seattle, Portland. Watch the way that they respond, or I should say, don't respond. It is all from that training and that indoctrination. Now, Aaron over at Growing Up in Scientology went on Breaking Point the other day. You definitely got to check out that interview in its entirety. Aaron does such an amazing job of explaining Scientology and a lot of the concepts. And let's just be honest, things are just outright weird about Scientology. He does a great job translating that into using normie words and terminology too that people can understand. And I love it. So let's take a little peek at that.
Of a service for now.
It sounds a lot like a blend between science fiction and religion, a little bit of that coming together.
That's right. Now you might go, okay, with that fundamental belief system, what is Scientology actually doing with that belief system? Well, Scientology has a one-on-one form of counseling therapy. They call it auditing. And Scientologists believe that with enough auditing, you can regain enough of your spiritual awareness and powers to skip, to bypass these between lives implant stations and to regain your ability to have a total recall of your previous lives. And that the goal of Scientology is to get enough people into Scientology, and that once Scientologists succeed in getting enough, at least half of the population of Earth up through these levels and unplugging them from the matrix, basically, that we will, instead of reincarnating to Earth, we'll reincarnate to the next planet and get the cycle started on the next planet. They call it Target 2. Now, what's crazy is that like 90% of Scientologists in the world don't know anything about the Xenu story. They've never heard the word body thetan. They don't know anything about that part of it. They only know about your own reactive mind and trying to get rid of your own reactive mind.
Because remember, Xenu and the Body Thetans, not a band name, but it should be. That's what you learn about on the upper levels of Scientology on the bridge to total freedom. And yeah, it's funny because when I did it, it wasn't even the weirdest thing that I'd heard in Scientology or that I'd seen for that matter. I get that question a lot of like, well, how did you respond to seeing that? L. Ron Hubbard talks a lot about spaceships and aliens and these previous lives that we had as fighters on different planets and all that. So it wasn't that out of line to learn that, when I did it. Definitely wasn't the weirdest thing. But I love how, again, Aaron just has a great way of explaining and going over that and getting the word out in a way that people can understand. Or try to understand, because you could tell the host was trying to wrap his head around this, like, wait. You mean to tell me? You could tell he was like, wait. But I think he got it. I think he got it, and he did a great job. Jeff Augustine from the Scientology Money Project was on Shaun Attwood. This just came out, actually. Link down below for the full interview. Check it out, because Jeff is laying it out. He is laying it out. He is pulling out all the cards. Here's how Scientology launders money. This way, this way, this way, this way. So the whole interview is great. You should check out the whole thing. We are just going to go listen to a little snippet.
There's a misapprehension, Stephen. You think if you had $50,000, you could walk into Scientology and say, here, audit me? No, you have to sign 4 contracts. They strip you of your civil and legal rights, force you into binding arbitration if you have a complaint. So when you watch this merger of corporate business law and religion, and that's becoming more and more the case, where they strip you of your legal rights going as a member. And that's what Scientology does, is it takes away your power to sue. You can't speak out. You don't own your own information. And often if you leave, you're fair gamed. That's a term L. Ron Hubbard created, meaning you're subject to attack, character assassination. And that's one reason Leah Remini is suing the Church of Scientology. They've engaged in online defamation to her to such an extent. She's alleging several torts, including that's harmed her.
Isn't that crazy? Just when you think you've heard it all about Scientology, there's so much to talk about. I could literally be here for the rest of my life, probably 3 times a day, and not cover all of it. These contracts that he's talking about. When I was in Scientology, I remember when these came out. It was something before there was a little thing that we signed. Nobody ever read it. But then they came out with these more on thicker paper, multiple pages. It looked more fancy. And the registrar, the person whose job it is to take your money, would pretty much gloss over it or just go, oh, this is just saying this and that, and then you sign it. Now, we live in a world where we're always signing things that we're not reading, right? Anytime you get a new app or anything like that. But these contracts in Scientology do exactly what Jeff Augustine just said. They strip away your civil rights, your legal rights, and then you're stuck in binding arbitration. This is something we've heard across in the Scientology world when people try to sue. It's no, you got to go to Scientology arbitration. And us, Scientology, we're going to put together a group of people who are Scientologists who are going to decide if you, the ex-Scientologist, is right or wrong in this situation. Spoiler alert, it always goes in the favor of Scientology. It's ridiculous. It's just beyond. But I love that he's doing it and getting the word out, because there are many things, so many things going on with Scientology. There's no shortage of things to enrage you. And speaking of enraging, but also beautiful at the same time, was we talked about this a little bit yesterday. And I love this. There's a link down below to this channel who put this together. It's just a little, I have a clip of what they did of when this weekend, when many SPTV creators joined other live streamers and protesters outside La Poubelle and the Celebrity Center, Scientology Celebrity Center, and Manor Hotel, which is a hotel run by Scientology. You got to be a Scientologist to stay there, or approved by Scientology to stay there. I mean, I don't know if they let non-Scientologists stay there anymore unless you're a guest of a Scientologist. So we're just going to look at a little bit of this, but check it out.
Hell yeah! Scientology is a close!
So there's
these are the names of the children you born!
beyond impressive. I'm waiting to see full squirrel for happening out here. This is it, baby. And it is a beautiful.
Check out the whole video. That was such a beautiful thing. And Liz Gale put that together, which is so amazing, because that is a lot of work. I know there's been multiple lists over the years of people who've spoken out against Scientology, people who grew up in Scientology. And unfortunately, it's a list that is even longer, but the whole goal is that it doesn't get longer than it already is and that it needs to be. So definitely check out that video. I thought that was great. Speaking of great, Pearlsnappy in Austin, out there with multiple people, multiple friends, big weekend in Austin. We got to chat with her yesterday. It's just crazy. And I just love it, because now this organization in Austin is open, and she will be out there. And she was out there with other protesters, linked down below to all the videos. This one might be from Danny. I think this one might be from Danny's stream. Danny and Leah, who you may know from Hollywood, from the Hollywood protests, drove down there to Austin for the opening and were there protesting alongside Pearlsnappy and a bunch of other people. Check it out.
I made up my own reactive mind and I'm not doing it anymore. Don't cry about it.
Oh, that's funny. I love too how Danny's just cracking up, and that's Pearl there in the alien mask sharing what Scientology calls the clear cognition. And if you don't know, you pay tens of thousands, if not $100,000, to reach the state of clear, where the realization that you're supposed to have to prove you made it is that you realize that you've made up your own reactive mind and you're not going to do it anymore. And she has been yelling that. She was yelling that yesterday every time they opened the door. And because there are so many out-of-town people, out-of-town Scientologists who were there for the opening, that door was opening and closing multiple times throughout the day. It's really going to die down once these people leave and go back to their organizations, because ain't much happening with Scientology on their end. But when they do have a big opening, it does get busy. And that was so great to see. We're going to share another video here. This one's from Acupunk, who was there at the protest and sharing. And this is well, as you can see, street level.
Well, right. Well, we want them to be S and right? And I actually, the way they are, like, oh, yeah, maybe. So I put it the other way.
I love the signs. Texans reject the cult of Scientology. You know, I've only been to Texas, I think 2 times, but what I do know is those people don't take a lot of shit.
Here's some kids if you want to hand them stuff.
Okay, I can't do it.
Yeah, I didn't make them for him to hold. I just
okay.
So she could be like, okay.
And I love that one too. You don't need to purchase enlightenment. Exactly. Exactly.
Come out with your cans up.
That gentleman right there, this older man, he is the landlord for their temporary location. So it looks like they invited him to the opening. So at least now he does know that they're moving, because when Pearlsnappy spoke to him before, when she was outside there, it didn't sound like he knew they were moving.
TRs, keep your TRs in.
All right, as you can see. And of course, I'm going to have to share a little peek at Pearlsnappy herself out there doing her thing. And you can see there is a good amount of traffic there with body traffic, as the Scientologists would say. Lots of raw meat outside. That's what Scientology call people who are not in Scientology, raw meat. Oh my God, it still grosses me out every time I say it. And the funny thing is, when I was in Scientology, it didn't bother me. It was just, oh yeah, that's what they're called. You know, maybe it bothered me a little bit, but then my programming would kick in and I go, well, there's probably a good reason for it. There's not. It's disgusting. It's a way to dehumanize people, because it's much easier to manipulate and take money from someone, especially if it's their last dollar. We saw this at the Hollywood Testing Center a lot. People would come out and share that, hey, I told them, look, I only got $80 in my bank account until my next paycheck. And they'd be like, well, the book's just $50 or whatever it was. It's all about the money.
You'll see, they can't even come out right now because they're so afraid of me. So now they're all hostage in their stupid org.
Something I wanted to point out that someone pointed out to me, a couple people actually sent me a screenshot of this. Look at this tree and the multiple sad faces. This one looks like it's got, you know, a cyclops and a sad face. But then there's this one here that looks like it's a sad face. This one's just looking to get away. If you stare at this tree long enough, you see multiple faces. Here, I feel like I can see almost a dog with its tongue out, but it's a sad dog. And say the cyclops and the sad there. The tree in front of Scientology is so sad. It's growing sad faces. It is physically manifesting what is happening in that building.
But they're probably just taking niacin and getting in the sauna. Oh, I'm sure. Well, God forbid the children hear the truth. Yeah, little babies. Oh, look at them. They're opening up their shade tech. Look at them go. Look at these idiots. Now we get a whole view, you guys.
So they had these closed at first. They had closed them and then not long after opened them. And that's something I wanted to ask Pearlsnappy about, because from watching the video, that's what it seemed like happened. Which, what does that tell me? That tells me that somebody said, open the damn blinds. Why are you closing off like that? We're not shutting down because of them. I bet you anything. Somebody who's not from there, but who's there from Los Angeles for the event to get the org open.
Oh, they're opening all of them. I guess it wasn't good enough that I ruined their party. Now I'm really going to have to open their stupid grand opening. Day 2. You'll see. They can't even come out right now because they're so afraid.
Day 2. She was out there. Other people were out there as well and doing an amazing job. And I want to thank everybody that contributed to that. I know how hard Pearlsnappy worked with the people who were helping her as well, and people who went out there just for this opening. That is so appreciated. I love all of the videos and everything. We're going to jump over now to talk about Kelli Copter, her video, and the response from a board member from the Aftermath Foundation. That board member, his name is Matt Pesch. You may or may not know him. I think he had the channel, but I don't think he's been active on YouTube. He was a Sea Organization member. He is married to Amy Scobie, who is also on the board for the Aftermath Foundation. We're going to take a look at his comment as well as what Kelli Copter herself had to say. But first, I was like, who is upset? Multiple people sent me this lady's YouTube, and I'm so glad because, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Is it Mama? It's not Mama. It's Mama. I think it's Mama. I'm going with Mama. She just goes off. I love this woman's passion. She was featured in, she was a part of, Kelli had her in her video. And I think this is kind of how people found out who she is. And she has a channel, Mama's Life. Always be kind. And I love that she is just like calling it out. I love hearing and seeing the reaction of people never in Scientology to the shenanigans that are happening, whether it's Scientology or in the ex-Scientology community. Just that outside perspective of looking at it from the outside, for me, is really eye-opening. But somebody upset Mama, and she's letting us know. Take a listen.
Point. Mike Rinder doesn't. None of you on the foundation get the point. No one needs to hear Mike Rinder's resume. We don't need to hear about what it's like to be a volunteer for free. We all know that. And we all greatly appreciate everything Mike Rinder has done to further the cause of Scientology losing their tax exemption. We all love all the work that you've all done to further that cause. That is not the point, Matt. Geez, I just get so ticked off. I've said it before in another video. I've heard many people say that Scientology cannot get out of their own way. Mike Rinder couldn't get out of his own way. He just made things worse. And now Matt isn't getting out of his own way.
I love her passion. And she really, I mean, she does nail it. At the end of the day, in my opinion, this is really much more about an inappropriate response. Multiple times. Several times. Over and over. Almost nonstop. So let's jump over and get to the actual, I'm sure you guys have seen this. Maybe some of you have not. We're actually going to go ahead and read the comment. So there was a video that Kelli Copter did that was absolutely fabulous, just like everything that she does that's on her channel. And it was great. And it was basically saying, hey, I want the Aftermath Foundation to succeed, to help people who are leaving Scientology, who are leaving the Sea Organization. But to do that at this point, I really feel she was saying that Mike Rinder should step down. And we should have more diversity with this board, which is true. That's true of any board of a nonprofit that's helping people. The more diverse your board is, the more diverse your organization is, the more people you can help. It's a larger community of people that people can relate to, that they can see themselves in, that they can relate to the person who's trying to help them. We need more of that everywhere, and definitely in the ex-Scientology community when it comes to nonprofits, helping people get back on their feet, helping them get the counseling that they need if they're willing to do it. So we won't, I mean, hopefully you guys have seen Kelli Copter's video and you kind of get the gist of what it was about. And this is a response again from Matt Pesch, who is a board member, which as I understand it, it was deleted, but multiple people screenshot it, which seems to be something that's done often, because there does seem to be too this pattern of someone from the board commenting or saying, making a comment, sharing a narrative, speaking their mind, which they completely get to do that, but then deleting it. I don't exactly understand that or how that works, but the internet, it's forever, no matter what you think. So let's take a look at this. Hi, Kelli. Because of the magnitude of both your innocence and ignorance, I cannot dislike you. You just called her ignorant, but you can't dislike her. As a point, no one has worked harder and done more to expose the abuses of miscavige and Scientology than Mike Rinder over the last 2 decades. You can start with the 3 seasons and 37 shows on Scientology and the Aftermath that was later carried by A&E, Netflix, Hulu, and Vudu, and is still being shown. Those shows have reached millions of people in many different countries. It required a lot of work and time away from his family. He has helped legal counsel in just about every case involving Scientology in the last 2 decades. That includes helping Debbie Cook when Scientology attacked her. Mike has talked with top media and law enforcement around the world in order to expose Scientology to get their tax exempt status. And then that line kind of disappears. But I think, get their tax exempt status taken away. So I wonder if I click on this, if it opens. No. All right. I'm just going to pick up from where I can see. Is it safe? What is the possible liability to the foundation? Oh, okay. So he's talking about the different types of like therapy that somebody might want who is from the ex-Scientology community, but they want to ask the Aftermath Foundation to fund it. So going and checking out, is it FDA approved? Is it safe? What is the possible liability to the foundation? If they need job training or education, where is that best done? Who runs and helps them in a crisis? Who middlemans the purchasing, the help so cash isn't passed out to be misused? I'm not sure what he means by that. Who keeps all the financial records and accounting? My point is there is a lot of time and work. The work is unpaid and voluntary. The members have their own businesses, families, and lives to maintain at the same time. The members, so he must mean the board members. I am serious in my offer to propose to the board members that you replace Mike if you are willing. Expect it to be more emotionally draining than being sent to that just blew my mind so much. I totally lost it actually literally made me dizzy. Expect it to be more emotionally draining than being sent to the worst RPF for doing something that you didn't do. Crying is guaranteed. Direct attacks by OSA is nothing. It is the attacks by those who should be on your side that you work tirelessly to help that rips your guts out. Do you want the job, Kelli? I am serious. I mean, personally, I think that Kelli Copter would be fantastic on the Aftermath board. It's a start, but I can't with that comment. Here, Kelli herself saying, RPFers in the chat, do you think working for a charity is worse than the RPF? Just that one part right there is incredibly tone deaf and insulting. Hugely. I did not do the rehabilitation project force because I was low level, man. I kept my head down. I tried to stay as low level as I could in this organization because I knew what would happen. So whatever my job was, I was going to do it to the best of my ability, but I wasn't trying to get promoted and going too far because I knew what would happen. But the tales, the accounts, the documentation that we have of what the rehabilitation project force was like for people, there's so much of it that to say that is absolutely tone deaf. I don't want to get stuck on that one thing, but that's something that I know for me really stands out. And this is what we're talking about, it being tone deaf. I remember earlier we talked about Blow Drill on MARILYN's video, Jeff from PTS for Life. There's a theme there of a lack of response and emotion and empathy and compassion for people. And I feel that this is what we're seeing in these responses. And this is a point that is being missed by the Aftermath Foundation. The lack of empathy, the lack of compassion for the victims. Even if you feel you're being attacked and you're being called out, I get that. Nobody likes that, right? But we still have to have empathy and compassion for the victims because it's the only reason that we're here, is to help the victims of Scientology and prevent there being any more. That's it. That is it, at least in my mind. So if that means stepping aside and putting our egos aside once in a while to take a hit because we were tone deaf or whatever it was, and whether that's because personality or it's because you were in the C organization, whatever it was, it doesn't matter. We have to learn. We have to learn to be more compassionate and have empathy. And it is learnable, I know, because I feel like I've completely been able to nurture that with help from so many people outside of Scientology who mirrored that for me. And anyways, I'm kind of going on. But what I want to do is I want to read Kelli's response to this. Hi, Matt Pesch, if this is really you. Thank you for responding to this video. As a member of the Aftermath Foundation board, I appreciate you offering your point of view. I would like to say at no point have I negated the work of Mike Rinder, who has Mike Rinder has put into exposing parts of Scientology. He has done many TV appearances and has made a successful career out of exposing them. He has provided information to millions, yes, and he has made that his livelihood and income, as is his right. I am not here to talk about his career as a consultant and anti-Scientology TV personality and TV producer. I'm glad he's doing that. He knows these policies and the work he does to expose them is brilliant. I hope he continues. That's something I've said here too when I've been asked about this whole thing, which kind of really started blowing up about when I started on YouTube, is Mike Rinder has done amazing things to expose Scientology, as have the Headleys as well. Multiple people. Excuse me, my nose is running. But you can't use your resume of what you've done to negate things being brought up when it comes to being tone deaf. It in itself becomes a tone deaf response. The facts remain, Scientology still have their tax exemption despite this work. It is frustrating, to say the least. I never said Mike Rinder withheld any documents from Miriam. My issue is that I feel his behavior and responses in the current difficult situation are inappropriate, unprofessional, and make him not a good fit for a public charity board. Example, the live stream about Aaron, the fleas and dogs letter from the lawyer, the emails to Miriam, the blog posts, and the deafening silence. The vulnerable people that approach the Aftermath Foundation need safety and assurance whilst they are transitioning into the outside world, and his recent public responses to difficult conversation have lacked those qualities. I was disappointed to see and felt personally let down by it. I hate to be reminded of Osa Mike in his writings. Unfortunately, that is how many perceived it too. It was upsetting and triggering for many in this community. I've always been a fan of Mike's work, and I've been saddened by these events. If he wants to be the face of his own movement, I think he should be held to a higher standard and set an example for all those that wish to drive this movement to success, such as not posting victims' police reports to the internet. And how about not insulting and devaluing independent advocates? A rabbit out of Miscavige's hat? Down the Rabbit Hole News has nothing to do with David Miscavige. The accused association reeks of paranoia. That was another thing. Attacking, always defend, never attack. Always attack, never defend. We see that. That's totally a Scientology thing. Let's see. Miriam reached out to her. She has worked in social care and covers true crime on her channel. How about not name calling your own supporters? He must do better in future, or else controversies like this may keep appearing and causing discord in the community. I did read Mike Rinder's blog, yes, and I think there's certainly a level of miscommunication between both Mike and Miriam. However, Miriam is suffering PTSD, and Mike Rinder should have been sensitive to that as a representative of the Aftermath Foundation. He was not. His responses are what has made this escalate. Mental health awareness and care is extremely important in this space. Now, definitely read the entire thing. There's more to it, and we're going to kind of look at a couple pieces of that. But she did such an amazing job, because that really is, I think, the key point there, right? It's when somebody's experiencing PTSD, they're going to react in a multitude of different ways. And some of them there could be lashing out. There's a lot of emotion, right? They process in different ways. It's incredibly traumatic. These are traumatic experiences that people are recovering from. Cut them a little slack. Give them some compassion, some empathy, and some space to heal. Take a step back before you respond, because I get it. You felt attacked, as Mike Rinder did, and then he did the blog response, which just made everything worse, in my opinion. And I think a lot of what I see in the comments and otherwise point to that as well. No one is taking away from what he's done and what the Headleys have done as well, because they have done a lot to help expose Scientology, and they continue to do so. And that is amazing. And I know I am so grateful for that. This is a different, separate issue. And this is what I hope that members of the Aftermath Foundation board will try to understand. It comes across, I get how that can feel like a personal attack, but sometimes when you're hearing the same message multiple times about yourself or your behavior or how you're being perceived, if that's not your intention, maybe take a step back and look at that and go, hey, how am I coming across here? I have to do that still, especially in writing. When it comes to written communication, I have to use emojis, because sometimes my communication can just be a bit too blunt and direct. And even though I don't have emotions about it, I'm not mad or upset, but and I have to remind myself sometimes, hey, take a step back, look at your communication on how that person might be going and perceiving that. Reminder, everybody, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. And also I forgot to tell you at the beginning, if you have a question, put question in front of it so that we can address as many questions as we can, because the super chats get starred. I want to say too, I think it's incredibly brave that Kelli Copter did this video, one, and secondly, responded to the comments by Matt Pesch, which were deleted. Because having as much open dialogue about this as you can, and when you're a nonprofit, there needs to be transparency, and having transparency as much as you can, even on YouTube, is a great idea, because there's so many eyes on it and looking, and it can only help us understand. People are going to make their judgment no matter what, one way or the other. But having as much truth out there as we can while trying to maintain compassion and empathy. And I even have compassion and empathy for Mike and for the Headleys. They have been through a lot in the decades of exposing Scientology. It's been a huge hit to their families, to their communities, and to them. But you still got to respond in a way that's not attacking victim supporters or advocates. It's just a missing piece. I feel like if they can get this nailed down and make this change and bring some diversity to the Aftermath Foundation, that it can be amazing, that it can help even more people. And I know I really want to see that. And we're going to talk to Kelli Copter about this again. She can't come on right now today, but Kelli, let's figure out something this week. Even during the day, my time, I'll be able to do it. We're going to go through some questions and comments here. Thank you so much. Is it Gillian? Who will take over Cult of Scientology if and when little Davy Miscavige steps away from Scientology? Love your channel. Thank you so much. That is something that we're all wondering. And honestly, I do not know. Whoever it is sure as hell not going to be saying it. I can tell you that, because what Miscavige will do is get rid of them, get rid of them. I want to also thank all the new members to the channel. We just opened up memberships of multiple levels, and thank you. Hip hip hooray to all these people. Genchi, everybody here, you guys are the first members joining today because, like I said, we just opened it up. Malarkey, thank you so much for becoming a member. Hip hip hooray to all of you. Susan P became a YouTube member. Appreciate it. KD214, thank you. I'm outright giddy about this. Trevor Merritt, thank you. He became, actually, I'm assuming, Trevor, you became a member. Thank you so much for that. Vintage Mama of 3, you're a member. Awesome. Absolutely love that. Groovy Witch, thank you. Thank you for becoming a member. Keep an eye out. There's going to be some member-only content, and it's going to be fun. OT level 420. I love that. I love that. That's something that Pearlsnappy will yell. I'm OT 420. I think many of us are. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And Susan Everett also became a new member. Pick 61, thank you. And Selfless Self, appreciate it. And Nancy Drew, absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that you guys are doing this, and I hope you have a ton of fun with it. Carrie Carr, thank you. Hip hip hooray, everybody. Susan Ballman gifted a membership, or did I click on the right one? I think I did. But Lumi Dawa, thank you for becoming a new member. Can someone tell me, okay, so here it is. Christina gifted 1 Scientology Life After a Cult membership. Thank you. How do we handle that? Maybe Nancy, you can tell me when somebody gives a membership, what does that mean? And do I need to do anything with it? Corn Freak, thank you for becoming a member. Denise Stump too. Thank you. Hip hip hooray. Scott HN. Let's grab a few questions here too. Megan Moo, thank you. If they encouraged Aaron to step down because of public perception, doesn't the perception of Mike Rinder reach that level? Isn't that a great question? And yes, absolutely. I would agree with that. And that has been part of my struggle in understanding this. I understand it, but I guess where I struggle is I keep wanting to make it make sense. And I can't make it make sense because you're exactly right. That public perception that they were so afraid of, that Aaron's activities in his personal life were going to bring down the Aftermath Foundation. And that just didn't happen. It never happened. It didn't even bring down, Aaron's channel or Aaron's life. It was the opposite, I would say. Because you know what? I think that here on YouTube, this is how I feel. Honesty trumps everything else. What our situation really is what trumps everything. We can heal from truth, right? And we're all imperfect and a bunch of hot messes, to be honest, just trying to work together and come together to expose Scientology and heal ourselves and meet people like all of you who've never been in Scientology and your own healing and whatever you've been going through or what you've experienced, that you have found some camaraderie in this community. But you're right. You're so right. Kimberly H., thank you so much for becoming a member. Now, Ellie brings up a good point here. Help needed. If you can be in Chicago on March 3rd for the grand opening, please contact Shannon at Chicago Scientology Audit. All are needed. Okay, if you go down in the description of this video, I put links to 3 channels that I'm aware of who have been protesting in Chicago. Connect with them if you can go out there. March 3rd is the opening. I'm assuming that's a Saturday, which means just like they did in Austin, they will have all these activities planned the day after as well. So down below, there's a link to those. If you can help, please do and get the word out, because Chicago is opening their ideal organization. I cannot wait to see that. Mock murd, blah, 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 blah. They need to have their foot surgically removed from their mouth at this point because it's always in there if they talk. Yes, and there should be a rule. You know what should be added to the bylaws for the Aftermath Foundation is that maybe board members not be allowed to comment. I mean, don't they have a rule in there about not making the Aftermath Foundation look bad? But they just keep doing it over and over again. I just don't know. I just don't know about that. Sovereign question. I might have thought this to be controlled opposition like Cult Awareness, but it doesn't make sense for them to botch this so badly, but maybe not. That is the Cult of Scientology playbook. Thoughts? yes, the Cult of Scientology playbook tells you to never defend, always attack. And it's not just the Cult of Scientology playbook when it comes to how to handle disagreements with an organization or disagreements with Scientology or the Aftermath Foundation. It's this idea in Scientology that your statistics, this is a little bit of insider info here. In Scientology, if your statistics are up, you're supposed to have what's called ethics protection, which means if your statistics, like let's say in Scientology, my job is to write letters, and I write letters one week and I write more letters the next week and I write more letters to send out to people the following week. My statistics are trending upward. I should have what's called ethics protection, which means if I come in late to post, nobody should say a thing about it. Now, in reality, it doesn't work that way in Scientology. They come down on you no matter what, especially these days. Back in the day, it used to be a little bit more where you could be protected if your statistics were up. So by coming forth and sharing again everything that they've done, their statistics in exposing Scientology, which are phenomenal and appreciated just beyond, I cannot stress that enough. It does not negate the way that victims, supporters, and advocates have been treated and called names and things like that, because that doesn't work outside of Scientology. You don't get to say my statistics are up, therefore I have ethics protection, therefore I get to say these things. You can. And let's be honest, anybody is well within their right to say what they want, have their opinion, and have their view. And we continue to hear this point of view in the Aftermath Foundation. And it wasn't Maya Angelou who said, believe somebody, I'm going to paraphrase, but believe someone when they show you who they are the first time. When they show you who they are, believe them. Believe that that's what it is. So maybe this is just a situation of, look, we're not going to be able to get them to change. They have their point of view. They have the good work that they do. They will continue to do good work, but it will be limited to who they can help because of the way that they've behaved and the name calling and the fact that there are many people in the C organization who are going to struggle, who are in certain positions coming out of Scientology to go to these members on the Aftermath Foundation board. Now, if you're a public person and you're a parishioner and you leave Scientology and you hear that Mike Rinder is on this nonprofit board, that is a good thing, because they didn't experience Mike Rinder in the ways that some others did within the C organization. You dig it? I think we're all digging it. Pearlsnappy, thank you. Endless love to all of you for your support of these survivors and us never ends who won't shut up. Yes. Cheers to that. Don't shut up. Don't ever shut up. Keep doing it. I love what you're doing. I want to make sure and see. Aubrey, doesn't LRH hate Black people? You know, I've heard some things. I've never personally read or listened to anything by L. Ron Hubbard that I can recall where he said that. Actually, it was the opposite, because he had been saying something about South Africa being really where the next great civilization is going to come from. I honestly don't know. I can't tell you that was my experience ever in Scientology. That is one thing I can say in my 35 years in Scientology. I don't recall where race really played into it, despite the fact that Scientology, let's be honest, Scientology is white as hell. There's a lot of lacking of diversity. I don't know why that is. Sometimes I wonder if that's not why they, buddied with the Nation of Islam to kind of counteract that. I do remember hearing when Isaac Hayes was still around, it was before the South Park episode about Scientology, that he had told David Miscavige and brought this up. There's a lack of diversity and representation of the Black community in Scientology. And he was right about that. But do I think it was from LRH hating Black people? I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. Now, does it mean that it's never happened in Scientology in active racism? No, I just know what I've seen and experienced. But thank you for that question. Paula, thank you. I bet Mike Rinder is kicking himself for going after Aaron. I don't know. I've wondered about that too, right? Because, let's be honest. We've all done something at some point, maybe not as publicly, where we've gone, oh man, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't say that. And maybe, hey, thank you, Hunter Bay, for becoming a new YouTube member. for doing that, and you regret it and you're kicking yourself for it. And, these things tend to only replay in our brains right before we go to sleep. Why is it that right before we go to sleep, that is when our brain decides to play back to us all the dumb stuff we said earlier in the day? Maybe it's just me. You tell me in the chat, in the comments. Am I the only one? Oh, so this is something that, again, will continue to be a conversation. And I honestly hope that some of this is taken to heart by the Aftermath Foundation, and honestly, anyone speaking out in this community. It's just we got to do better. We got to do better to support victims of all types and victims of Scientology. But is he really kicking himself? I don't know. I wonder about that. Liz Ferris, thank you. Amazing weekend. How did you love the list? Oh, I loved it. I completely lost it yesterday. It broke me in a good way. I had a really good, healthy shower cry afterwards. And then I spent time with my grandson, which was wonderful, which, by the way, yesterday I did a live with my grandson, Oliver. Oliver is the first person born into my family, not a Scientologist. Nothing to do with Scientology. Will never step foot in a Scientology organization. And that's the 4th generation in my family. And I wanted to share that yesterday. I forgot to share that. In part, I wanted to do it to celebrate our 15,000 subscribers and celebrate the 1 million views that we've gotten so far. But I forgot to say that as part of the video, but that's part of why I was doing it. And I just needed to have some fun. And that kid is amazing. You can watch it here on my channel. Here's the first one. My granddaughter, Mina, who's turning 3 in a few months. She is the second one born into my family, never a Scientologist. So see my never in community. I'm having my own never ins finally in my family. It's just taken 4 generations to make that happen. Absolutely. So there's a couple of things. Yes, Liz Gale did amazing. Liz made the scroll. It was absolutely amazing. There are multiple streams and videos from this past weekend in Los Angeles and in Austin, and I encourage you to catch up on them. What I share is just a snippet, and it doesn't do it justice. There are so many beautiful reunions that happened, especially in Los Angeles over the weekend, and not just with people today who are getting to know each other on the internet, but people coming back to protest Scientology, like Tori Magoo 44. She was there, got to meet Aaron and others in person. My favorite part was when she met Confident Chris and Chris Without a Hellcat. That is just some generational beauty right there. I absolutely love it. Gary, thank you so much for that super sticker. I really appreciate it. Yep, this isn't. Denise, thank you for sharing this. I'm a survivor of CPSD. It has taken me 5 years of hard work to let myself feel my real emotions, and I'm still working. Trauma steals authenticity and joy. Love you, girl. Love you back. And you're so right. It does. And I think that's why, and you guys tell me this too. I hear this in the comments and in the chat that those of you who've never been in Scientology relate so much because trauma is trauma. And you can see it. Sometimes I feel like we're so close sometimes, at least for me, with Scientology and my trauma. And because I was raised in Scientology, it's sometimes been difficult to separate it out and know what to call it. Things that I normalized in my life with Scientology as a child. And those of you never in Scientology are so great at calling it out and going, oh, that's called this. And putting the correct language to something is incredibly healing as well. Is it Alesha? Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you for becoming a new member. And Patty as well. Hip, hip, hooray to all of you. I love this. I'm so happy about it because, like I said, I had multiple people say you should do these memberships. And I'm like, I don't know. Would anybody be into it? But I love making up names for things. And we're going to have some really fun with some of the member only content. Tons of content here still. You don't need to be a member by all means. But there's been some things more behind the scenes that I've wanted to share that I wasn't yet comfortable sharing with the whole world. So at least to Scientology, if you want to see that member only content, please join, become a member, maybe just jump right to the suppressive person level, because then you'll see everything and you'll also get a discount on merch if you like. So I recommend it. I recommend it completely. Smooth Steve, thank you so much for becoming a member. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. I will be back. I'll be back tomorrow with my recap, right? But I've got some amazing guests coming on this week. I'm going to talk to Jeff, PTS for Life. I believe we're doing that tomorrow. I got to take a quick look at my calendar. I'm going to get a notification out about that. So going to be chatting with Steve from PTS. I'm sorry, I was reading Steve there. Jeff from PTS for Life. He just did that he went into Seattle, into the organization, videotaped it, and he did a follow-up. And then on Wednesday, also, I'll get a notification out for this. I'm going to interview Jeff Hawkins. I'm totally going to fangirl because people back in the day, my friends, when I was leaving Scientology, Jeff Hawkins was writing this blog and he was exposing all these secrets of the international base. It's before these things came out in general in the media. And he wrote a book that was phenomenal. And I'm going to be talking to him. He actually was with Jeff from PTS for Life, I think in Portland when he went there. So I'm going to be talking to Jeff Hawkins, and there's probably going to be one or two more coming up, and I'm going to keep you posted on that. Gabriel, thank you so much for becoming a member. And I will go ahead and Google it if I can't find it. Trevor, this community is cheaper than therapy. Yes, it is. It is. But therapy is still very necessary. I highly recommend it, especially I've gotten a lot of gains learning about cognitive behavioral therapy. There's a woman I follow on YouTube, Therapy in a Nutshell, and I have found that all to be so, so helpful. Powering up, powering up. There's an emoji that goes with that. I don't know why I can't see it, but maybe you can see it on the YouTube side because I'm doing this through StreamYard. Oh my God, it's so funny. Yeah, this community is cheaper than therapy. Corn Freak. Oh, are you going to go to Chicago? I can't wait for this weekend. Go Chicago strong. Or are you in Chicago? I hope so. That is coming up. Trevor saying, don't Google CBT with safe search off. Safe search off. Oh, so maybe it means something else. I'm so naive with that stuff. So I'll have to find out what that is. Maybe I'll Google it with safe search off. I'm feeling like living dangerously today. Groovy Witch, put me in, coach. Chicago, here I come. That is awesome. That's so great. Down below, there are links to people that I know who are protesting and covering things in Chicago. Smooth Steve is asking, Nat, I am legit asking, has anyone on the Aftermath Foundation board taken therapy or spoken about it? I'm curious. I honestly don't know the answer to that, if they've talked about it or if they've had therapy themselves. If somebody else knows through videos that they've seen, let us know in the chat or the comments as well. That is a really, really good question. Kimberly, thanks for the emoji there. Powering up, powering up. I love that. Oh, okay. So Corn Freak's in Indiana, but yes, sounds like you are going. Pearlsnappy joined. Yay. I'm so geeking out. I can't wait to see what she's got coming up because I'm telling you, people, Pearlsnappy is just getting started. She's got a great community there. Liz Ferris, love you too. I'm so proud of you for what you did to go out there and protest, to go walk L. Ron Hubbard Way, to go and be out there in front of Celebrity Center again. Despite everything that happened in the past, just taking it back, getting in their space, claiming it, taking it back. Love that you did that. And I love the squirrel onesie, by the way. Liz and her wife, Carrie, were wearing them, and they were absolutely fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. They were so great. So great. And remember, if you see something, say something on the internet about Scientology that you think would be great for a recap, send it to me at natalie@lifeafteroccult.com and include, if you can just send a clip and say, you know, what I'm looking at, a timestamp and a video. The more specific, the better. I can't always answer everybody's email, but I try to. But I want you to know that I appreciate it. I appreciate every single person who's emailed me, who shared their stories, who sends me clips, who sends me your thoughts. I truly do appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. And I wish there were just enough hours in the day for me to be able to really send the message I want to every single person. So I appreciate that. Keep doing it. Gabriel, love you, Natalie. Honestly, you're one of the first ones to really make us never ends feel welcome. That makes me sad and happy at the same time. Thank you. I'm over here like, we're trying to raise my own never ends. I'm trying to get my kids to have more children so we can have more never ends in the family. And then of course there's the spouses and partners of my children too, who are never in Scientology. I really absolutely appreciate that completely. You guys are amazing. So Swedish Lena saying that only Claire and only since October. So I'm thinking that you're speaking when we were talking about if anyone has done therapy or talked about it. Laurie Plays became a member. Thank you, Laurie. I hope you're going to get out there. You're another one with that awesome squirrel onesie, which I have on my list to order. I need to do that. I also been including an Amazon wish list in the comments. I do have a plan. Well, let's be real. It's a forming plan of how to take this on the road. My Tony and I want to do some traveling and glamping along the way and want to live stream from the road. And it's really an idea that's just coming together. So if you do go to my Amazon wish list, it's mostly camping stuff and glamping things and some things to live stream from the road. So just so you know ahead of time, that's kind of the thought process and where we're going with that. And I really want to make that happen. Very much so. Pearlsnappy, love you so much. You bring me such joy. So I'll go when Pearlsnappy's on and I'm watching her. I'll go to my living room where I have this really big television and I'll get close to it. And then it feels like I'm yelling at the building, just like she is. And I love that. I love it so much. All right, let's just make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, we got all those. Fantastic. So we're going to wrap it up. Please hit the notification bell as well so you get the notifications, because I'm going to do some awesome, fun interviews that I feel are going to be really enlightening too, with some people that I definitely respect in this community and want to learn more about. And there's going to be more coming. I have a whole list of people that I want to talk to and share their story. And if you didn't know personally, throughout my life, I've been asked multiple times, what do you want to do? Like, what would you want to do if you could do anything? This is it. I love sharing people's stories. That's what I like to do. In my other work life, I have a real estate brokerage and do another podcast that's local to my community where we share the ways people create community and connection. But doing these interviews is really what I love. I love the recaps too, don't get me wrong, because then I get to talk to all of you. But really speaking to other people and amplifying their message and their story is something that I absolutely love. And that's what I want to maybe even get on the road this summer and do more of. Like I said, it's a forming plan. Would love to hear your thoughts and advice on it as well to see how we can make this happen. In the meantime, I appreciate you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking the videos. Thank you for all of your support. Mahalo, as we say in Hawaii. And I hope you guys get out there and have the most amazing cult-free day.